Hi and welcome back to Real Opinions. I'm Jack, and today I'm going to be reviewing Rams. It was described as a comedy, but I feel like it's more of a drama. It's about two estranged brothers that live on the same farm that's kind of been split in half so that they never have to talk or face each other. In fact, they haven't talked for I think 30 years. They're both sheep farmers, and it starts off with them going to the prize sheep of the year awards for their village, and one beats the other one. It kind of sets up first like it's going to be a kind of rivalry thing about the two of them, until the winning brother's sheep is found to be infected with a disease that is potentially damaging not only to just his flock but the entire valley's flock. And so it becomes story not so much about who can beat the other one, but can they kind of bond together to help stop this infection from spreading out to the entire valley and stopping them from having sheep in the area for 2 years, which for sheep farmers is probably a big deal. I mean, it's basically just will they be able to save not only their livelihood but it's their heritage, because they focus on in the beginning about how when they introduce the winning sheep, they say the sheep that is born from this flock or from this family, and so they definitely set it up as, even though for an outsider you can kind of just think, oh, it's just sheep, but they do a very good job of setting it up as not only the sheep being connected to them in that they're very close to the sheep and they don't act like actors that have been told here's a sheep, pet it. Like they feel like they're actually like they actually know the personalities of each of the sheep and they actually feel like they get along with them well. And then when, like I said, when they set it up with this sheep was born from this, they also set it up as a heritage thing, so you can feel like the brothers are connected to not only just to the sheep themselves, but to the past that they represent. The aspect a lot of reviews focused on was the comedy side of it, which confused me because I kind of went into this knowing nothing but the title and the fact that it was a comedy. No one mentioned that it was a deadpan comedy at the beginning, and when they say deadpan, I kind of think like kind of on the lines of awkward humour, which to me is actually like that sounds like perfectly my kind of sense of humour. But it's very gentle humour, which means, well, in my terms, is that they're just things that happen in everyday life with a slight comedic edge. So it's just like something where, I mean, there's a joke that they kind of show in the trailer, which is one of the jokes that's actually the standout joke, one of the standout jokes, where one brother drives up to a fence, stops to get out to open the fence, and when he opens the fence, the other brother drives right through, like without thanking him. And that's most people would just think, okay, so that's just a fine normal scene where it's just got a slight bit of humour to it, and that's exactly the humour all the way through. So I think if I was to sell it to someone, I'd say that it's just a drama. I wouldn't add to the comedy at all. Some people might find it amusing in some parts, but there's nothing that's laugh out loud funny. Oh, there's nothing, and by laugh out loud, I don't even mean full on laughing. I mean just making any noise at all. Like there's every single comedy moment, just a slight smile where you acknowledge, oh, that's a bit silly. Cinematography is absolutely brilliant, actually. It all looks really amazing and really crisp images, and they do very well to make these kind of very, very grey landscapes beautiful, in that you'd think that when it's essentially an hour and a half of grey for most of it, you'd think that it would get a bit boring visually, but they do really well to just kind of show a scale and a gradient throughout most of the shots, and there's always something of contrast and always something of interest where even when they're showing you a landscape for an extended amount of time, it's interesting and it looks really great. It did well to tell the story, and that was the same with the editing. I mean, it was good, it was well paced, I mean, it was patient, but at the same time it was well paced with the patience. It did feel a little bit repetitive in moments, but that's just because of the nature of the film and the nature of the film's character, and that a lot of the scenes to start with him inside a house and then hearing a noise and then looking out to it and then doing nothing and then going back to his regular life and then hearing a noise and looking out to it. But again, that's the kind of the character, and as he's the kind of the focus of the main character is the kind of quieter, more composed, but he's also the second best sheep rearer, but at the same time you feel like he knows more about the subject, and he's just he's the nicer person, and the other brother is a drunk and kind of off the rails. But yeah, I'd say that the plot did get a bit repetitive in points, and if I was also trying to sell this to someone, I'd say that the story is the brothers, because there is a bit of weight to the sheep being killed off. Well, you feel empathy for the sheep as well, but it does feel like there's a proper stress with the fact that these sheep could be wiped out. In the kind of last act, they kind of drop the sheep story and then just focus on the brothers, and then the brothers sort of concludes, and then that's the film. It doesn't really offer a conclusion to the sheep, it doesn't really offer a conclusion... Well, it does offer a conclusion to the brothers, but it's very much... It's open-ended and at the same time conclusive, if that makes sense. It's very conclusive for the characters' arcs, but it's not conclusive for when they'll end up afterwards. I'd say it was a good film. It was very well acted, I thought, all the way through. Every single character well acted. But yeah, I'd say it was a good film, but there was nothing that particularly excited me about it except for the cinematography. Yeah, I mean, it was a very solid film. I mean, that sounds like it's almost knocking it, but it was enjoyable. It did everything right in its own way. It was a very patient, very controlled film. But at the end, I just felt like it wasn't really saying anything or doing anything important. It just felt like an okay story told quite well. I'd say it's 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 film.